we're very happy to be hosting this Total Health Philosophy webinar. We've got a very special guest tonight. Mr. Dana Young is going to be joining us for our first few minutes, and then we're going to be turning it over to Mr. Ori Young to go ahead and go through the presentation. So with that said, Dana, you've got the floor, sir.
Thank you, Daniel. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Well, guys, hey, welcome to the Be Young Total Health webinar, the first one this year. We wanted to give you guys the opportunity to kind of see what we've been working on for some time here. We've got two of the creative brains on the webinar tonight that's going to take you through a bunch of stuff to kind of give you an idea of the behind-the-scene work that we've been doing here to make Be Young literally stand out in the marketplace and make your jobs much, much more easy to share our message. We are very passionate about our total health message. It is a very timeless message. A time has come for thousands of people to hear and embrace this message because it is more than just the words total health. It literally means that your bodies and your family's bodies and friends have the opportunity to actually acquire something that has been sought after for the millennia, and that is the opportunity to raise your health from wherever that might be, whether that's 25%, bring it up to 90%. And that's our goal, is to help you to reach out to your friends and families that you know around the world and give them the opportunity of hope, the opportunity of health, the opportunity of prosperity, as you have the opportunity to reach in and embrace the message that you're going to learn about tonight. So without taking any more time, let me turn the time over to the COO of Be Young Total Health, Ori Young, the brainchild behind a lot of the stuff you're going to see tonight. Ori, take it away.
Thanks, Dana. I appreciate that. Before I get started, Daniel, can you confirm, is that PowerPoint full screen or is it showing the PowerPoint program?
We are looking at the PowerPoint program.
Okay, let me try to fix that real quick.
You may need to swap your screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at doing here. Just give me 1 second, guys, and we'll get that fixed for you. Let's see. How's that?
There we are.
Okay, great. All right, guys, we are, and Dana kind of share that with you. We're pretty excited about this message. It's, like Dana said, it's pretty timeless, and I got to give kudos to Dana. Dana developed all these product lines and just innately knew the conversation of total health, even though when you'd sit down and talk to him, at least on a creative stance, when we sat down and tried to break it down and say, okay, Dana, well, what's the message behind all of this? And for those of you who know Dana, that's not a short conversation. That was a couple months in the making to pull all the little pieces out. But it was very interesting because he had all these reasons to make it. To make all these different product lines, but as far as bringing it down into like a very precise total health message was something that we had the unique opportunity to basically pick Dana's brain, figure out what his thoughts were on these product lines, and then tie that to research, actual scientific research, and then be able to come back and say, hey, Dana, you built these lines for these, which is great because the message that we feel needs to be presented is a total health message, and here's the reason why. And it was really a pretty powerful experience as we went through that. So, without jumping into this and just kind of sharing total health, there's a term that I want you guys to all think about. And I want you to think about that throughout the rest of this broadcast. And that's going to be the very fundamental conversation that our total health message is all about. So as you're out on the streets talking to people and wondering, I'm part of Be Young Total Health, what do I say? How do I get them involved? What's the message I share? You should always share this conversation. We are products of our environment. The interesting thing is I have yet to have someone disagree with me when I say that statement. When I say, I'm going to throw something out, and if anyone disagrees, raise your hand. And I say we are products of our environment. Not one person will raise their hand and say, no, I don't agree with that. I just got a chat here from Daniel saying there's a Zoom. Oh, okay, we're good. So the conversation is, if we're products of our environment, how are we doing? What are our bodies like, and how are our bodies responding to the environment? Well, how bad is the environment is the question, right? I think anyone can innately have a conversation and know that our environment is decreasing by the day. It's not the same environment it was a decade ago, and definitely is not the same environment it was a century ago. And we're going to go over some of these facts about just how different our environment is to help you understand why this total health message is so important. So with that, it looks like that's actually got a zoom on it. Let me see if I can fix this screenshot. I think that's what Daniel's trying to say. Hang on one second. Let me try fixing the screen one more time, guys. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so with that, let's just talk a little about our environment. And this is really interesting. So the very first one we want to talk about is the choices we make. What's so bad about the choices we make? Well, if we're talking about diet and food, we're talking about the standard American diet, which if you abbreviate it, abbreviates to say SAD, because it's true. It's the saddest diet ever invented and put upon the face of the earth. Why is it so sad? Well, there's some research here. If you look at this, it talks about just how bad processed and fatty foods are. And unfortunately, I heard this statement. I thought it was very interesting, because a lot of people say, "Oh, Americans are fat because they're lazy. They sit home, they have all the fatty food, and they're just lazy. That's why they're fat." But I heard someone say, I would disagree with that. I'd say Americans are fat because they're so busy. They don't have the time to chew their food the right amount of times to get the saliva on it to break it down, and they don't have time to sit home and have a home-cooked meal. So they're always eating at McDonald's, at Wendy's, at Burger King, at whatever is fastest. And unfortunately, all those are processed fatty foods, deep fried, and that's going to add all sorts of problems, especially if we're talking about nutrition. And if our body requires a certain amount of vitamins and minerals and proteins and fats and all these other things for it to be able to survive, if all we're doing is eating what we can get at a fast food restaurant, then we're giving our body empty calories, empty vitamins, empty minerals. So the body's always in a starvation mode. Hence why Americans store so much fat. So getting off that tangent, let's just look at this. Singapore residents who adopted high-processed fast food diets were found to be 27% more likely to develop type 2 diabetes and 56% more likely to die from heart disease. Well, that's comforting, isn't it? If they just start living and acting like Americans, then they're going to die faster. Well, at least we're winning the race somewhere, guys. So, those are some of the things to look at. And the total health message is simply this: we're products of our environment. We live in an environment that's toxic, and we live in an environment that unfortunately is not the best environment for our bodies. So we can't take ourselves out of the environment. A lot of messages would be, well, you got to separate yourself out. You got to live up on a mountainside somewhere and grow your own food and become a hermit and never come down into, down into the world. Well, that's not going to work. And so what we need to recognize is we live in a very toxic environment. So therefore, we need to have the tools to combat the environment and win. And that's the whole total health message. And there's a way we can do that with the total health strategy. So let's look at some of these other statistics here, these other facts. This is a very interesting one. You can find this. Just type in Dirty Dozen on Google, and it's going to pull open all sorts of different facts. Dirty Dozen fruits and vegetables is what you want to type in, keyword. But interesting, even after washing, 67% of your food that you get out of, fruits and vegetables that you get out of your superfood market still contains pesticide residue on it. Well, why is that so bad? Well, because pesticides have been linked to causing free radical production by the billions. Now, not millions, by the billions. And why is that so bad? Because a free radical is an unstable molecule in the body. And without having to get into all the scientific data, it's been linked to over 90 diseases. Let me just name a few. It's been linked to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, autoimmune, and cancer. What's the main killers in America right now? Well, should we be concerned about these little things called free radicals? You bet we should. Now, it's important to know that free radicals are part of a natural process in the body called oxidation. However, we do not, there's a fine point between a good amount of oxidation and a dangerous amount. And because of the different toxins in our environment that's been introduced at high levels, typically we are bombarded to the max. And so it's a conversation of giving your body the tools it needs to bring that back into alignment. Let's talk about the water we use. And this is always a fun conversation because when you talk about who needs the total health message, you can break it down to say, well, do you know anyone that breathes air? Do you know anyone that drinks water? Anyone that eats food? Well, guess what? They need the total health message. So who's the targeted audience here? Everybody. And that's why the total health message is so powerful. We're not just pinpointing people who want to keep their skin from getting wrinkly. We're pinpointing everyone. Everyone needs a solution to have a healthier life. So if we look at the water we drink, what's wrong with our water? Well, if any city, unless you're on your own well, they're going to put in chlorine and fluoride. It's just a part of the process they do, and that's why they always taste funny, and you have to get water purifiers, and even after the water purifiers, it still tastes funky. Well, interesting, chlorine and fluoride over 2 decades ago have been linked to 8 different types of cancer, but they just put it right in our water supply. Isn't that so comforting to know that we're drinking to cancer, in a sense? But they dump it right into our water supply. Not only that, but 1 billion pounds, guys, billion, okay, that's a huge number. 1 billion pounds of pesticides are used in the United States each year. Approximately 5.6 billion are used worldwide. And guess what? 98% of that has to go somewhere. Where does it go? It goes into our water supply. And if it doesn't go into our water supply, because they have some pesticides now that instead of it going to our water supply, after it hits the plants, it just vaporizes. So then it just goes into the air we breathe, which is just as good. So we're breathing in these pesticides, which have been linked to free radical production, and free radicals have been linked to over 90 different diseases. Why are we seeing a decline in our health? Because we're allowing it, we're forcing it in a sense because of our environment. And we can go through a lot of these. I think the other one I want to point out is the air we breathe. This one was a real aha moment as we were researching this and found some really prominent research done out of Louisiana State University. The scientists there were trying to measure just how bad the air quality is, and they wanted to measure what type of, if you will, oxidation processes were happening in the air, what type of things were breaking down in the air. And so as they started measuring this and they were charting it, what they found was pretty startling. They found that every day the air we breathe, now it might be different throughout the United States, but specifically in that Louisiana place that they're testing, every day the air that they breathe exposed the average person to as many free radicals as smoking 300 cigarettes. That's insane. That's a ridiculous amount. That's just the air we breathe. So once again, guys, the total health message, what is it? We are products of our environment. Well, how are we doing? Knowing what we know now, what I just shared, how are we doing? I think every single one of you would say we're doing pretty poor, and poor would probably be a very generous word. And the sad part is 99% of this are things that we don't have a whole lot of control over. We don't have control over the pesticides in the food industry that they use. We don't have control over, the hormones and the other things they put into our meats, and we don't have control over the chemicals they put in our water supply. But we do have control over the things that we can supplement with to help combat the things we don't have control over, and that's what the total health message is, guys. Now, one last thing on this page before I move forward is we've been talking about external factors that cause free radical damage, which lead to a lot of different diseases. What we haven't talked about is internal factors. Stress is a free radical engine, and it produces free radicals by the billions as well. In fact, research done, they took mice and all they did was snip their whiskers. Well, why is that so hard on mice? Because that's their navigation system. That's how they know if they can fit through holes. That's how they balance everything. It's their whole navigation. They snipped their whiskers. That's it. They had plenty of food. They had plenty of water. And what they found is just by snipping those whiskers on the mice, their free radical production increased by 180%. And that lasted for a long duration of time. Even after the whiskers grew back, they still had free radical production at extended lengths of it. So let me ask you this. Are there things that stress you out more than clipping your whiskers? Mortgages, auto loans, college funds for your kids? I think we have a lot that we're stressed out about. So if we combine all that together, the question does come back to, how are you doing? Well, I think there's a need to have help. So let's talk about what that is. So the Be Young Total Health Strategy, if I can get it to move forward here. Hang on a second. The Beyond Toil strategy is four focused wellness strategies: attack, restore, defend, protect. And then we have a fifth strategy, which the icon for that is this little guy here, which we kind of call our X factor because it really is. But that X factor is our support line. So what we recognize is there's four core strategies that we can do right now on a daily basis to combat the environment and to start winning. That first one is to attack the free radicals at the source with a super surge of with antioxidants. What's an antioxidant? An antioxidant is simply a molecule that has an abundance of electrons, and so when it comes up against a free radical, it donates an electron and balances out that free radical. Basically, in a sense, think of it as the police of the body. It can go through and arrest the radicals that are causing damage within the body. So how do we do that? We're going to talk about that in a second, but I'm just going to pull out one product that has by far the best ability to attack free radicals at its source, and that's our Massage drink. And we're going to talk a little about that here in a few minutes. But we also need to restore and reset our nutritional balance. Why is that so important? Well, because the foods we eat right now are so depleted. In fact, research has shown that in order to get the same amount of vitamins and minerals and proteins that your grandparents got 30, 40 years ago, you would have to eat 8 oranges to their 1. You'd have to consume about 8,000 calories to their 2,000, 3,000 calorie diet. So how many of us consume 8,000 calories a day? Not very many of us. So guess what we're having right out of the gate? A depletion of essential vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, proteins, all those different things. We're already at a deficit. So guess what the body's going to be doing? It's going to be robbing from other areas. It's going to be robbing from the bones. It's going to be robbing from the tissues. It's going to be going into starvation mode. And you start just slap a disease onto it. We're putting ourselves at a deficit right out of the gate. And so it's important to recognize that we have to give our bodies the right amounts and the right quality. And I'll put a little pun in here for you guys. When I went through my chemistry course, as I went through basically general chem through OChem to advanced OChem, and the professor, when he was presenting, and this was right out of the textbook too, he said, there is no difference between natural and synthetic. They're the exact same thing, and don't let anyone else fool you. That's an old way of thinking, and it should be dead by now. What? What do you mean there's no difference between natural and synthetic? He said, well, we can go in and we can create a vitamin C. We know exactly what it is. We know exactly how it's structured. So if we go in and build it in the lab, there's nothing different than if it grew on a tree. Okay, that's a very good argument. However, according to the FDA, vitamin C is ascorbic acid, and ascorbic acid is only a portion of vitamin C. So if we're only creating one portion of vitamin C, then it's not really vitamin C. Plus, any chemist will agree that we have barely been able to tap into what the structure of a vitamin or mineral is. Sure, we can see the macro and the micro structures, but what about the structures that our technology has not been able to develop to see yet? And they'll tell you we can't see everything. So how can you tell me that that's the exact same? It's not. And so it's important that we're aware of what we're putting into our bodies as well. And that kind of goes along with our defend message. All those toxins, all the things that we breathe in, the glue that we breathed in from the carpet that was laid down, the exhaust from the motor, all the bad foods that we eat, all those go into the body and have to go somewhere. Otherwise, if they didn't go somewhere and get filtered, we would most likely die fairly quickly. So where do they go? Well, they go to a master organ called the liver. It's responsible for over 900 different functions in the body. And one of those functions is to filter the blood and filter the toxins. So it's important that we clean the filter. Imagine driving a car and never cleaning your filter. How long is it going to take before your car starts choking out? Not too long. Well, too often we're going on 200,000 miles without ever changing an oil filter in our bodies. So defend is that oil change for our bodies. It helps clean the liver and helps allow us to get those toxins stored in the liver out. And the last one is just talking about protecting ourselves from future free radicals by being mindful about the personal care products. Guys, one of the scariest things in my opinion, and this will be my soapbox, I think one of the biggest areas that in my opinion, the regulation agencies have failed on is our personal hygiene products. The chemicals allowed in there are mind-blowing. Sodium lauryl sulfate, parabums, dioxanes. Those have been linked to cancer, brain tumors, breast tumors, you name it. They're linked to it, and they put it right in your shampoos. You can't find a baby shampoo at Walmart, Smith's, any large retailer that doesn't have sodium lauryl sulfate. And it's a powerful degreaser that creates free radicals, but it's right in your baby shampoo. And we're wondering why babies are coming down with cancer or why they're coming out of the womb with diabetes. Well, we've set them up for it. Okay, so this is our total health message. So we'll kind of talk a little about these products and share why these are so powerful. So Masaji. Masaji is an antioxidant drink that, if you never heard the story of Dana telling you how it was created, you need to get to an event and listen to it, because it really is a pretty phenomenal experience that Dana put together. And once again, kudos to Dana for being able to develop such a powerful product and being able to develop it in such a way that it doesn't taste horrible. But this is the best on the market, guys. And I know you hear that all the time, but it seriously is, and we have testing to back it up. It's extremely powerful, and it is extremely readily to the cells. So there was a large test done by the head, Dr. Pryor. He is the head of the FDA for antioxidant and free radical research. And what he did in 2000, I think it was 2012 or 2010, one of those two, he wanted to pull together and find out what is the daily recommended value for antioxidants, because they've been all over the place for the last decade. So he did this huge meta research, and what he found is that every day, and there's many different free radical species, so they tested on one main one called the perioxal species. But what he found is from this research that we need a minimum of 12,000 antioxidant units per day to combat the free radicals that we are up against every day. But what he also found is that the average American consumes anywhere from 4,000 to 8,000. 8,000 being, a very good day, 4,000 being typical. So we're already at a major deficit there, where that free radical production is just constantly going on in the body. The interesting thing is Masaji in 1 ounce provides 12,000. So 1 ounce of Masaji provides you with your daily recommended needed amount to protect your cells against free radicals. And the interesting thing is, many people will say, oh, well, we have a chocolate bar, and this chocolate bar has 1 million on the antioxidant scale, and it's going to be life-changing, and it's going to change your life. Well, that's great, and you're thinking, awesome, I can eat chocolate and not feel bad about myself. But here's the main thing is, an antioxidant is only as good as it's absorbed into the cell. And I think that's important, so I'm going to repeat it. An antioxidant is only as good as it's absorbed into the cell. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I have 1 million antioxidants and I eat it, and this can only absorb 5 of those, then that chocolate bar is only as good as the 5 units that was absorbed. It may have 1 million, the rest just gets excreted or broken down and doesn't do any good for me. So we had testing done on Masaji. It's called a cellular antioxidant analysis, and it tests the ability for it to absorb into the cells. Masaji came in, there's 4 quartiles within this test. There's kind of a low range, a mid-range, above mid-range, and like superior performance. Masaji came in the top of that 4th quartile, indicating that it has very well absorption into the cell. And so not only do we know that it provides a high amount of antioxidants, all natural by the way, but it also can absorb into the cell, so we know that it is doing its job. So that's why Masaji is the go-to product when we're talking about attack free radicals. Now we're talking about restore and reset our nutritional balance, and we could spend a lot of time in here, guys, and I won't, just because it's not really necessary for this conversation, but just know that NutriSmart is the best on the market as well, along with our MRPs. And like I said, I know that sounds cliche, but find it out for yourself. Research our products, and you'll come to the same exact conclusion. NutriSmart is an all-natural, whole food-based vitamin, mineral supplement, and you won't find anything better on the market anywhere. Period. It is the best out there. It's safe enough that I feel comfortable using it on my 2-year-old's been taking it ever since she was 1, and I wouldn't do that with any multivitamin. So this basically allows you to make sure that you have all the macro and micro nutrients within a day. So you start your day right. You get up in the morning, instead of skipping a meal, you take your meal replacement drink, which gets you the amount of protein that you need in a day, plus the vitamins and minerals, and then the NutriSmart makes sure that you have your daily recommended amounts of those vitamins and minerals and omegas, omega-3s, and flax seeds and all those things. So this is a powerful tool to make sure that we're not coming out of the gate at a deficit. Moving on to our liver cleanse, we've already talked a little about the importance of the liver. Liver cleanse is a very powerful formulation that Dana formulated, and it basically contains lemon, peppermint, carrot seed, essential oil. It also has lemon concentrate, and this is the whole lemon. It's not just juice, but it's all the enzymes from the rind, the juice, everything. It also has some other things in there that have been proven to assist the liver in cleansing. So not only does it help to excrete the immature bile out of the liver into the gallbladder, into the small intestine to help with digestion, but it also helps to encapsulate and move out the toxins and help to move that out so the liver can function properly. So very powerful. We have so many testimonials on this. It's almost ridiculous, but this is a very powerful piece. And if we aren't taking care of our liver, then ultimately we're failing in our total health regimen. So very important. Our next section is our protect line, and this is going to be our innocence line, which is our personal hygiene. And we have a whole presentation on this that you should get to and watch. We had testing done against Colgate, Crest, Big Sexy Hair Concepts, and Suave. And the hypothesis was this: would the chemicals that they have in their personal hygiene products be able to be... So let me restate that. So the hypothesis was basically this: do they have any free radical protection against the chemicals that are in there? And what we found is there's not very much. it's extremely small, like maybe 5 units against their chemicals. When we compare it to our innocence line was actually just about as powerful as our Massagey as far as its antioxidant protection. So one thing to remember, guys, is the skin is the biggest organ in the entire body. So what we put on our skin is going to absorb. So if we're putting whatever we want on our skin, lotions with parabens, lotions with chemicals, shampoos with chemicals, we could be doing all these things internally, Massagey, NutriSmart, all these things to help. But we put it on our skin, we're ultimately putting ourselves at a deficit again. So we need to be conscious about all aspects of our health. And once again, that's our total health message, is recognizing we're products of our environment. What are we doing every day? Not only externally, the pesticides being put in the air, but what are we putting on our bodies? We need to start being a little more aware of those things. Start looking at the labels, because it would scare you what's on those labels. So the last part of this is our support line. This includes our essential oils. This includes some of our Be Body Smart line, our Glucose Smart, our Smart Heart, other supplements that we have that have been specifically formulated for specific needs. We recognize that our total health regimen is not going to help with knee pain or back pain. You could pour a Massagey on it all day long, and it probably won't do as good a job as Physical Touch or Chiro Touch. And so our support line is meant to support your total health goals. But you always need to be doing your total health, because we need to create a baseline of health. And once we create a baseline of health and we take care of the basics, we can know that those are covered, and then we can start focusing on some of the specifics. So that's our total health message there, guys. There's a lot more into this presentation. We go into Massagey and we talk a lot about it. But I think for the sake of this webinar, I think we've covered what we need to cover. And I think we've been able to indicate what that total health message is, which was the purpose of this webinar. So we'll do follow-up webinars where we'll go in and talk more about Massagey and show the research on this, and show the research on our Innocence line, and show the research on our Be Body Smart line, and share with you exactly how powerful they are. But I think for the sake of this call, I think we've covered what we need. So I just want to reiterate to you guys in closing here just how important it is to start paying attention. And I've said, I might sound like a broken record, but I really mean it. The whole purpose of Be Young is to help you get to a better state of health and a better state of financial stability. That's why our 2 core principles in the entire company, everything that we do in the company has to be able to fit in 2 buckets: life restoring and life rewarding. Life restoring meaning restoring your health, restoring your immunity, getting you to where you need to be physically, mentally, and on a health basis. Life rewarding meaning get you to a place where you're not stressing out over paying your rent. Because if you're stressing out over paying your rent, you're creating 180% increase in free radicals. So what are you doing to your life restoring? You're shooting it down the drain. So it's a combination of those two: financial freedom plus health freedom. That's the entire message of Be Young. That's the entire message of Be Young Total Health, and that's the whole message of the Be Young Total Health strategy. Is a very simple message that anyone can use, anyone can understand, and products that are simple to use. Every single one of these products are as simple as opening the bottle and taking a swig, or drinking some water and taking a capsule. So guys, I appreciate you being on this webinar tonight. I'm going to go ahead and turn the time back over to our host, Daniel. Daniel, I don't know if Dana's still on the call, but I'm sure he's just been itching this entire presentation to chime in. So you might want to turn some time over to him before we wrap up.
Okay, or yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Again, yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. And Dana, do you have anything that you would like to add here?
Just a couple words, if I may.
Sure, go ahead, sir. You've got the floor.
Guys, 2015 is going to be the most exciting year in the history and future of Be Young Total Health. We are so excited for what we have put together for you to help you and your families acquire the best opportunity for health and prosperity that you can have. And you can see that there's been a lot of work gone into this to make it simple, to make it shareable. And that's our message to you. Please do not go out and sell. Just go out and share. That's our message, is to help every willing heart that we can come across. So thanks again for being with us tonight. Daniel, back to you.
Okay, guys. Well, with that said, I think we've covered it, and thank you very much for joining us again in this webinar. And it's a pleasure and a privilege for BYBB to host these series of webinars for BY Total Health as we bring the message out and introduce, the total health philosophy and the compensation plan and how all of that's going to work together for a truly life-rewarding, life-restoring experience. So with that said, I'm going to end the broadcast now, and again, thank you, everybody.